Tolman. Does anybody subscribe to the Tolman page, the Tolman channel? If not, you might want to check that out too, because those are the guys that put out Harley Benton. So there's a lot of good stuff over there. Anyway, so a couple of days ago, speaking of them and good stuff, they got in touch with Tony Iommi's guitar tech, and they grilled him a whole bunch of questions about Tony's setup and his guitars and all that stuff. So I haven't watched it yet. I thought we would watch it together as part of the live show. All right, so I'm gonna set this up.
Hey guys, Chris here for Tolman's Guitars and Basses. Welcome to Guitar Tech Tips. This time I have the legendary guitar tech Mike Clement on the line, and he will walk us through, drumroll, Tony Iommi's guitar setup. It's an absolute pleasure having you, Mike. How are you doing?
Well, the pleasure is mine. I'm fine, thank you very much. Enjoying some late summer heat.
Oh yeah, same here. Absolutely. I'm super glad to have you on the show. I am really looking forward to finding out how Tony enjoys his guitar, like setup wise, and how come the strings. Like, one thing is really interesting, and I always wanted to know how come 2 times there's the same gauge, like 8 for the E and 8 for the B as well. So I want to put the exact same gauge on this guitar. This is a 61 reissue SG, by the way. I couldn't find one with P90s. You guys keep on buying all the guitars, so this is the one I found in stock, and I'm not too worried about it. It's a really good guitar, so I will use this one. And yeah, let's see. Would you change all the strings at a time, or would you go one by one?
Sorry. No, I normally do it one by one, unless I need to clean the fretboard.
Okay.
Because
is that for the neck relief, just to don't stress it too much, or?
Not really. I mean, it's no, it's not for that. It's just it's easier to do it one by one in the normal course of things, because I wouldn't clean the fretboard down every time. Because I mean, obviously, if there's dirt on it, I will. But I mean, Tony is one of those players that doesn't leave dirt on the fretboard. You know, there are some who are very different. Believe me.
I would change these strings. I tried to get labellas, which is something you told Tony would use anyhow. Yeah. These are the thicker strings. These are the ones you mentioned you would use for C sharp, right?
That's right.
Wow. So they're 8 to 38. 8 to 38. That's crazy. And then that's the thicker set. So that's the set he uses when they tune down to C sharp. And it's a 38. And I think he's got 2 8s on his custom set, he was just saying. So it's the E and the B are both an 8. But let's see.
Yeah. C and C sharp. Yeah, because I mean, we can use up to 4 different tunings. In fact, on the 13 tour, we did have 4 tunings. It was D sharp, D, C sharp, and C. And it kind of came into being historically to allow for Ozzy's voice.
Yeah, you're right.
Sometimes they just have that. Yeah. I mean, obviously now he's a lot older. You know, he struggles to get to the higher notes, which is why we dropped to C. We never used. They always used to go down to C sharp, but back in the day they did it. I think things like Into the Void. You know, just it's that put his voice in the right range. You know, to go down to C sharp. So you have to use heavier gauges.
Yeah,
I mean, they're still very light by anybody.
I'm so looking forward to trying this guitar at the end with your normal D flat or D sharp, I suppose, D sharp tuning. So to have those gauges, those strings here, I went for a couple of single strings from the Dario because this way I can.
All right, I just got to point out right here that this right away shoots down everybody's comments and thoughts about how you need to have like a 54 on your E string if you're playing metal. Okay, this is the godfather of metal. This is the guy who's, Jesus Christ, 38. That's amazing. Right. So anytime anybody says, you got to have a 54 on it, you're an idiot. This is it right here. This is all you need. This proves it right here.
Have 2 8s, the 11, the 18 wound, and everything that you need for that normal standard tuning of Tony's. So I will just start changing the strings, and I'll ask you things on the way, whatever comes in mind.
And what I'll do is I'll just change 1 or 2, and then I'll do the rest later, so you can see what I do with the machine heads.
So how often would you change these strings? Because they're obviously thinner than what most people would use. Yeah. Do they break a lot, or you don't have issues with that?
We do not have issues with breaking. I mean, I've worked for Tony for 31 years, and he hasn't broken a string on stage for the last 25.
Oh, that's something I would love to say about myself.
No, his playing is very, very controlled.
Yeah,
he never thrashes.
I respect that so much, because if you're on stage, you tend to just dig in harder, just hit too hard, grab too hard sometimes, because you're charged with energy, and that's something I really look up to. If someone can control his playing whilst having this kind of excitement and
Well, it kind of goes with his personality, and also because we think very, very carefully about the rig. The rig does all the hard work. So the dynamic that Tony puts into it from the guitar is pretty minimal.
Okay. Oh, by the way, I want to shout out to Laney Amplification. We also have a nice iron heart here, out of respect, because first of all, I love this amp, and second of all, Laney, the guys at Laney were great enough to help us contact each other. They contacted Mike and asked if he's up for this, and I'm happy to say that he was. So it's great. And the guys at Laney are anyhow just the nicest human beings ever. Whenever we do anything with the guys, it's just hugs and lovely people.
Well, we think so as well. I mean, they've been very kind to us, and it's a good symbiotic relationship. And yes, we get on extremely well. It's wonderful. And since about 1994, we came back, because of course Laney was involved originally with Black Sabbath, because they're from the same area. Lyndon Laney, the guy who founded the company, I mean, he's one of Robert Plant's oldest friends. They've known each other since school days.
Great. It's so nice to see such long relations which are based on friendship, really.
I just want to take a closer look at that guitar while on that shot. That was a good shot.
Okay.
Now, I'm not an SG guy. I've owned one. I didn't like it. I like the way it sounds. I'm not a fan of the way it plays, but it just looks so good sometimes. Like with a finish like this, that's gorgeous. And he just grabbed it up off the wall at Thomann, which, for anyone who doesn't know, is Europe's largest individual store. It's like walking into an airplane hangar or an airport, and it's just filled with guitars. It's like gigantic. But come on, that's gorgeous. What's that? You have the Laney Loud pedal, 60-watt amp pedal with effects loop and overdrive built in. Laney makes good stuff. It may not always be somebody's cup of tea as far as the tones that you prefer, but Laney makes high quality stuff. Very much, it almost boutique-ish. Yeah, JMK, I think you're right. That's really what it is for me too. It's the flaws of the guitar that draw me away, but I also can really appreciate some well done wood, some rice with the right stain and accompaniments with accessories. Yeah, and this is gorgeous. All right, let's get back to it.
Oh, by the way, I want to shout out to Laney Amplification. We also have a nice iron heart here, out of respect, because first of all, I love this amp, and second of all, Laney, the guys at Laney were great enough to
I'll back up a little so we don't miss out. Well, we actually saw this, so I won't back up. Tim, thanks for joining us. You have a Cub 8. Is that the 5? Is that a 15 watt or the 5 watt? And yeah, I'm just curious.
To help us contact each other, they contacted Mike and asked if he's up for this. And
how you doing,
I'm happy to say that he was. So it's great. And the guys at Laney are anyhow just the nicest human beings ever. Whenever we do anything with the guys, it's just hugs and lovely people.
Nice.
Well, we think so as well. I mean, they've been very kind to us, and it's a good symbiotic relationship. And yes, we get on extremely well. It's wonderful. And since about 1994, we came back, because of course Laney was involved originally with Black Sabbath, because they're from the same area. Lyndon Laney, the guy who founded the company, I mean, he's one of Robert Plant's oldest friends. They've known each other since school days.
Great. It's so nice to see such long relations, which are based on friendship, really, more than on anything else. It's just so unique nowadays. I kind of miss that. In many cases.
I agree. Now I've loosened off the top string. I can feel the ridges where Tony's been pressing down on the fret. So I know these strings are, because you can't tell by looking at them, because I say his sweat is not corrosive.
There you go.
But as soon as you undo it, you can feel the notches. And that's now I know these strings do need changing.
I'm not worthy.
Okay. Well, then good that we're on Zoom right now. Let's have a chat while doing it.
I'm sorry, I just had to say, I don't know if I would even play that guitar if I had it in my hands. I mean, his personal guitar, I think I would just hug it. All right, enough of me goofing around.
Indeed, yes.
So I started with the 6th string. I have the 32 on it. That's right.
Yeah. I mean, I started the top end, but
Oh yeah, sorry. I don't know. That was closest, so I guess.
Well, that's the same with me, because it's a left-handed guitar.
Absolutely.
So. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. I keep on forgetting it.
That was the original.
By the way, if you guys are not familiar with Tony's gauges, can you walk us through his 2 main tunings, like the normal D sharp would be?
Yeah, the D sharp would be an 8 plane. Then the B string would be an 8 plane, and the third is an 11 plane. Then it goes to 18 wound, 24 wound, and 32 wound.
How come 2 times 8? Wow. Because I understand if you play a thin gauge, it's beautiful. I even love the sound of like 7s and 8s, and of course it gives you a certain feel, playing feel, which is again very, very nice. But how come 2 times the same gauge? I was wondering.
He just. That's just what he found when he started playing after his accident, of course. That's why he went to the very light gauges. And although and here's a pair of his fingertips, by the way.
You have them. Great.
Yeah, I mean, I carry a pair myself, just so that he knows that someone somewhere has got a pair that he can use. Because normally he carries them himself all the time in a little old tobacco tin.
That wasn't ours.
That never leaves his person. So
yeah. I've read interviews and watched videos on that, and that's just so fascinating. It's because of the very end of the fingertip, right, which got injured. Right?
On 2 fingers,
Yeah. And that's because of, is that because of more feel with these rubber tips? Or is it because of maybe painful playing otherwise?
It was uncomfortable to play. Okay. Even when he did start, the kind of tips he would use, he still had to have the very thin gauges. But of course, it's worked for his playing style.
Obviously, yes.
I've got involved in the process of doing these things. There's 2 different types. This is the tip that goes on his middle finger, and this is soft.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And what this is from is what they call a glove, made by the health service, and it's a false hand, and it comes as a false hand, but it's made out of this soft rubber. So they send us maybe half a dozen. Tony will cut the tips off like that and find ones that fit. So maybe out of 5 or 6 of the hands, you'll get 2 that will fit on.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But then this other one that goes on the ring finger. This is a harder, more resinous plastic, and the black strip is leather that he cut from an old jacket.
Sorry, guys. I just wanted to read this out loud. Ricky Compton says, Iommi is my favorite guitar player. Great choice. I have the Gibson Tony Iommi Monkey SG. It was a Christmas present from my wife. And Tim Scarlett does say, does she have a sister? And yeah, absolutely. Does she have a sister? That is a special lady. You hear about guys all the time talking about how they have to like hustle guitars in and out. We see the memes all the time, right? They got to hide guitars and all that. Well, I think you got the one good one. That's a beautiful guitar. It's an awesome gift. I'm sure you deserved it too, man. Oh, yeah. That's great. Okay.
And luckily he's only got a few bits of the leather because it's used over the years. It's just the right thickness. And what he does is he glues it on, and then he works oil and talcum powder into it, and he'll sit in a dressing room with like a glass topped table, like sort of rubbing this oil and talcum powder. So when the cleaners come in, it looks like he's been doing drugs. But it's not. It's his fingertips he's doing.
Insane. The next thing that comes in mind immediately when we're talking about these unusual gauges is intonation.
Well, we use the Schaller Tune-o-matic bridge, so there's quite a bit of travel on the saddles. We have to do it. I mean, I know that John Diggins, the guy who built the Old Boy, the way he used to do it was he had to have Tony standing holding the guitar, and then he would adjust, but he would do it on frets, like between the 5th and the 7th fret. But the way I do it is I do it on the traditional way on the 12th fret, and I know that John says that doesn't really work, but I find it does work.
Okay.
And sometimes you have to compromise a little bit because depending on which string you're using, you've got to make sure, of course, that the notes down around the A and the 5th and the 6th fret and what have you, they have to be accurate.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to bend it a little bit, but we put so much work into the guitar rig, because he knows what he wants.
That's easier to work with a guitar player.
It's easier, except that he was for years looking for, this isn't quite my sound, whatever. And then what we did was we went back and found one of his original amps, or the same type, which was the Laney LA100BL.
Yeah.
And we brought it along, and we needed to get it fettled up a little bit because it wasn't in very good working order. So Mike Hill sort of worked on it and got it working. And of course, as soon as Tony hit it, he said, "That's it. That is the sound I've been wanting for like the last 30 years."
Wow.
I mean, people think that Tony uses huge effects because we do have fairly big racks, but there's actually very little effect being used. It's basically a slapback delay and a chorus, and that's it. But there's a lot more stuff in because the control racks do look quite impressive. They're quite big.
Yeah, I've seen those. That's why.
But most of the stuff is ancillary to the sound. It's like the radio receivers and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, but the sound comes from the guitar, really, and what the amplifier does to it.
Yeah.
So the last two tours, we're using the newer version of the old amp, because the old amp was from the 1960s, so the voltages in it are considered unsafe now. So they had to tame a few things back, but they did a very, very good job. And Tony was, and all the tours I've done with him, at some point when his ears start to just get a bit too tired after a few weeks, he would start complaining, well, it's not sounding right, what have you. But it's just his ears shutting down, and he kind of understood that. But there was very little room to do anything to change it, because everything is maxed out anyway. But when he got the LA100BL amp back, that was just perfect,
Oh,
he was happy. He was happy every night.
Wow. I wanted to ask about the truss rod and neck relief. How straight Tony prefers it? How close the strings are? Like what kind of string action are we looking at?
Well, it's pretty close, pretty low action, but
I'll back up on this, guys. I wanted to talk about JMK's last comment. Just modded a Tony Iommi SG for his buddy in 24 frets. You guys can read it. I put, all right, P rails. Are those the official P rails or the Guitar Madness P rails? And how are they? I like the idea of the P rails. So that would make it a basically a P94 with the extra set of coils, so it could be used as a full humbucker, right? Like a single coil, or it could be used as P90 single coil or a regular single coil. I don't know. There's a lot. There's a lot of options with that, right? Anyway, I'm sorry, guys. I'm rambling. Let me back this up a little bit for you guys. Here we go. All right.
Wow. I wanted to ask about the truss rod and neck relief. How straight Tony prefers it? How close the strings are? Like what kind of string action are we looking at?
Well, it's pretty close, pretty low action, but he doesn't need it to be absolutely just off the frets because you lose a little bit of the feel then.
And a bit of tone as well. Yeah, the strings cannot really vibrate freely. Yeah.
You know, and what we tend to do, I mean, I don't use instruments to set the, well, I do actually. I've got, this is one of the handiest tools any guitar tech can have, a straight edge ruler.
Yes.
You know, just put that on the neck. And straight away you can see if which way the relief is going. And basically what you do is you get it as flat as possible and then just give it a little tweak backwards. And then in terms of the actual action, again, I don't use a measuring instrument on that. Basically, I just take every string down. And this is obviously something I would only do once when we got the guitar new.
Yeah.
Just drop it down as low as it'll go until they're actually catching, and then just raise it up a little bit. You know, just get it as low as you can without being stupid about it.
It would be too much to say I was arguing about this with people, but some people are really, really serious about numbers, and you have to have like decimals and everything right, otherwise you don't know what you're doing. And that works for many, many people. And I do recommend using measurements and numbers to get in a ballpark. But at the end of the day, as soon as you have a bit of an experience and you know what you're looking for, it's all about the trials and errors and fine adjusting it, and don't really paying that much attention to numbers anymore, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't. I've worked for Tony for 31 years. I mean, I've done other gigs as well within that time, but not very many. You know, if I was going from guitar player to guitar player every 2 weeks, then you'd have to get to do that sort of thing, because otherwise you wouldn't know where you are with that player.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
I'm currently working with Nick Mason's Source Full of Secrets, and you know, I'm doing the bass and the stage right guitar there, and you just kind of get a feel for what he wants, you know. And if he says, "Oh, the action's just a little bit high," so I'll drop it. You know, and if I can't drop it, I'll say, "Listen, there's a problem. You know, it's going to start catching, or I'll have to start altering the neck relief." And he'll say, "Okay, you know, and then just do it until he's happy." And then you kind of remember it. You know, you don't have to get rulers out and do all that stuff.
Yeah. All right. I'm at the B string, 8, the first 8.
Okay.
Gauge
oh
string.
yes. I'm chatting away here. I haven't even done the first one.
Same here. I'm just too excited to try this string, so I cannot stop.
Okay.
All right. So Tim, you got a Casino Husk. Going to get it, dude. All the best with that. I hope it works out. I'm thinking about 9K on the P90s, but you know what you want. I hope it all works out.
Let me just show you what I do at the machine head end.
Oh, great.
Now these machine heads are spurzels, so they've got the rod coming up. So obviously you drop the rod down, and then what I do is
it's the locking spurzels. Yeah,
it's a locking spurzel, but I still use a locking system for winding it. So you get the slot going horizontally.
Okay.
Put it through from the inside.
Yeah.
Making sure it's still in the bridge there. Get it in the right slot, and then I pull it quite tight. And then I put the rod up, tighten the spurzel, and then go back around the machine head the way and underneath.
Okay.
Yeah, and then pull it back over itself so it locks.
Wow.
And the reason I do it quite tight is it's up to pitch within one turn of the machine head.
Yeah.
So that means you're not. So the string isn't interfering with the rest of it as the machine head turns. It's just that you've got to know exactly how tight to pull it.
Yeah.
Because it's got to rest on the machine head. Because if you do it too loose, then it'll start interfering with the thing as the machine head goes all the way around. And if you do it too tight, then it won't sit on the machine head.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that's what I do. That's my trade secret. So what that does mean is if you get it right, it means that when you click all the strings, all the little string ends are at exactly the same angle. Wow. And they're all with less than one turn of the machine head.
Yeah. So you do have the benefits of having the locking, which is making string changes faster, and it's barely half a turn at the end. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I used to, before I worked for Tony and Sabbath, I was with Motorhead for about 3.5 years, and nice. I was doing Lemmy and Wurzel, the stage left guitar player, and they used to break, and even Lemmy used to break strings. Because he plays so hard.
I am not really surprised.
But Wurzel would quite regularly break strings, so I mean, I got used to doing them very fast indeed. I could get a string chain stretched out, and back to him before the end of the song. But, well, depending on when the song you broke it, but
yeah.
but of course, I don't need to do that with Tony because he just, touch wood, just doesn't break strings on stage.
Obviously, you still have backups for all the main tunings you're using, right?
Oh yeah. Yes. So on the 13 tour, because there's 4 tunings, so I had 8 guitars out. Then when we did the end tour, we weren't doing any of the songs that needed D sharp. So it was just D, C sharp, and C, because Ozzy's voice had dropped a little bit. So
yeah.
But the go-to tuning with Tony is the D sharp.
Okay, I have the strings on. I will start tuning them first, and then I guess we'll stretch some strings. Do you have a special method for that, or use the obvious logical way?
What I do is, I mean, I don't do this thing where you do it all up the string and what have you. I just the way I see it is that the initial stretch is.
I'm with you, searching for tone. Who do we got here? I mean, he couldn't work for Lemmy.
To tighten the machine head. Tighten the string of the machine head. Even with the spurzel and with that locking method I use, if you do it all up the string and what have you. I just the way I see it is that the initial stretch is to tighten the machine head. Tighten the string of the machine head. With the spurzel and with that locking method I use, if you look very carefully at it, as I pick it up over the 12th fret, put my hand over the slots so it doesn't jump out the slot, and give it a good yank. And what happens is you can not too big a yank because otherwise you'll kill the string, but you'll see the knot just tight. It'll just move a little bit.
Yeah, just lock in.
Yeah, and then it's locked up, and then just give it another couple of tugs and whatever, and that means that it's solid around the machine head.
Yeah.
And the rest of it is stretching, which will occur over time. So what I do then is I will leave it for about an hour or so.
Okay.
And I'll come back and I'll stretch it again, but only ever from the from the middle.
Like the center.
Yeah, yeah, because that means that the string itself is just lengthened a little bit.
Yeah, it's not as artificial, I guess, not as aggressive with the string that you're pushing it everywhere.
That's right, because if you do that too hard, you're killing the string because you're shifting the winding off the central cord. Yeah, because I know for certain because I take the guitars off Tony during the show, and I will straight away tune them, and most of the time I don't have to tune. It's just that maybe sometimes the bass strings, if there's been a heavy bass song like Into the Void, something like that, where he is hitting the lower strings quite hard for him, sometimes there's been a little bit of movement, but not like with other guitar players I used to come across. It's because he's playing is so controlled. And that locking system I use on the machine heads, that works.
Yeah. I started adjusting the truss rod on the SG here because obviously it used to have 10s on it and it was set up.
I'll back that up a little bit. I'm pausing because of this. These are Spurzels. They're awesome. I think they're the most expensive tuners you can get, but they are worth it.
If there's been a heavy bass song like Into the Void, something like that, where he is hitting the lower strings quite hard, for him, sometimes there's been a little bit of movement. But not like with other guitar players I used to come across. It's because he's playing is so controlled. And that locking system I use on the machine heads, that works. Yeah.
I started adjusting the truss rod on the SG here because obviously it used to have 10s on it and it was set up perfectly. Luckily, it was absolutely ideal. And now there's way less tension pulling the neck. So I had to loosen it just a bit. I gave it like less than 1/8 of a turn. It's looking great now. Next thing is about the pickups. Those are humbucker pickups, right? Because the size is sort of P90 similar.
The size of P90 it's a kind of historical thing because the Gibson SG that Tony used for the first 10 years, that's a 65 special, and it came with P90s. But of course, with the volume they play, the hum that you get, and of course, in the early days, Tony used to use a Range Master. Treble boost pedal as well, and the noise that they generate.
That was you, Tim Scarrow.
So couple that with the single coil pickups, and in some places, the noise when he stopped playing was just so horrendous. This is before my time, but so what they did was I think they took the inside of the Gibson P90, put it into a metal case to see if that would, take some of the noise induction
interferences, I guess.
And then the second pickup was actually made by John Birch, who made the second main guitar, and John Diggins used to work for John Birch, so that's where JD got trained up.
That's fine. Okay.
And he was some kind of his own interpretation of a P90. I don't know what the differences were, but then Tony, when he was kind of told about the humbuckers, taking that hum out, he thought, well, great, anything I could do to reduce the noise. So that's when they started developing the twin coil versions. And I don't know what the actual difference is because they appear quite different.
Yeah.
Like the bridge pickup has the 2 bars over the coils, and the neck pickup has individual. Well, it has 2.
2 coils.
There's 2 coils, but there's 2 sets of pole pieces, at the front and the back.
Yeah.
So normal Gibson pickup like that one, has just the 1 set of adjustable pole pieces. Oh wait, well there's 9. I've never counted them before.
Why would you, right?
No, exactly. Yeah.
It's there and it works.
Yeah, I've never had to adjust anything on a pickup, except for sometimes just take it up or down, because that does make quite a bit of difference.
I wanted to ask about the pickup height. Is there anything, some sort of a height you stick to, or does it change all the time?
We do it per guitar. When Tony gets the guitar, he'll start trying it out. And because these old, new boys, are made by JD. I mean, JD knows what is, the really crucial things. But every pickup will vary very slightly, and we just, Tony he'll strike a couple of chords. And he'll say, just smooth it out a bit. So I'll just drop it just a little bit, and then we just go up and down until he's happy with it. And because his ear is so accurate, he'll know when it's right for that guitar, and then we just don't touch it again.
That's a great advice, I think, because again, sticking to measurements and standards can definitely help, especially if you don't have any experience about pickup height and where it's supposed to be. That kind of pickup, a PAF needs to be higher up, and like a higher output humbucker should go lower probably a little bit than PAFs. So these help, but at the end of the day, use these guys and see which works best for you with that.
I'll back up just a little bit. So, yeah, Snug, you're absolutely right. It's crazy that somebody can hear that precisely, that just a little turn of a pole piece, that they can hear that difference. But some people say they can't. I've never bothered trying. Has anybody here ever played around with pole pieces and noticed the difference? All right, back to it.
Especially if you don't have any experience about pickup height and where it's supposed to be. That kind of pickup, a PAF needs to be higher up, and like a higher output humbucker should go lower probably a little bit than PAFs. So these help, but at the end of the day, use these guys and see which works best for you with that guitar, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking about this the other day with Tony's manager, and the fact that these older school guitar players, they do like those big amplification systems, because you get the Kempers. I mean, Tony has a Kemper in his music room at home, which is great because he doesn't want to be playing a very loud amp, within his house.
I understand that. Yeah.
Tim, you had to set up a set of filter rods that way. That's interesting. So you've been able to hear a difference then when you play around with the pole pieces. A lot of people say that's that's what they're there for. So I'm kind of with you, Snug. Overall, I don't know in a concert setting how much of a difference it's going to make when you're pumping everything through a 100-watt tube amp. It's being connected to a wall of speakers and sent out to a crowd of 80,000 people. I don't know, but when you're standing there and you're next to that amp, you know if your tone's wrong, right? We're all guitar players, so we kind of know that, right? So anyway, let's get back.
But when it comes to stage, there is something about the valve amps that nothing will compare, because they're just the way they react to the mains voltages,
right?
The way they react to the different outputs of the guitar. There's a thump that is part of the feel. And
you speak from my heart.
So essentially, Tim, it's like a next step or a next level to a setup, right? Because you're fine tuning your tone. So to a certain extent, anyway.
I mean, Tony's manager had, used to manage Jeff Beck for a long time, and he said exactly the same.
Jeff Beck.
Jeff would be standing there holding his guitar. He'd hit a note, and he'd just lean back, just maybe 6 inches, a foot, and he would change the note. But he knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the way these old school guys work.
I love that. Oh, hello, Kitty.
Yes. Yeah, come on, Charlie. Let's say hello.
Hey, Charlie. Oh, you look just like my Amy. Except for you being a guy.
No, she's a girl.
It's a she, Charlie.
Yeah. So she was named by my daughter. So.
Lovely.
And she looks very tiny, but she's in fact 12 years old.
Oh, wow. It's a lady.
She still acts like she's 1.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay. I'm busy here now.
Leave Daddy work. Oh, great. Okay, I will tune the strings and grab the guitar, try to play a few notes to see how it feels. And maybe I'll have some questions about the gauge. Maybe I'll feel perfectly comfortable and I'll be surprised more than ever.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just a very nice guitar to play right now, I have to say.
It really does sound very nice to play, doesn't it? I like the way it sounds. There's a nice bite that's not muddy. It cuts. It doesn't I don't know. It doesn't like slap you in the face like a blunt instrument. It kind of feels more cutting and biting, if that makes any sense. So yeah, Snug, I guess if that's what you do for a living, you're going to make sure that everything's just so. Yeah, if you can do it, if you can have it done, you get it done, right? So the longer he's been playing, the more he's been able to perfect his tone. The burst buck is, yeah, that sounds so sweet, doesn't it, Tim? Yeah, there's a little bit. There's more of a cut to them, right? They're not. There's that warmth from a Les Paul isn't really there. Ooh. All right, let me get back to it now. We're almost there, guys.
Yeah. I mean, I prefer the lighter gauges. I mean, I wouldn't go down as far as the 32, but I mean, a 9 through 42 I find comfortable for myself.
Absolutely. Yeah.
The good excuse is this guitar is left-handed, so I can't embarrass myself by trying to play it. So.
Do you have any horror stories?
Oh yes.
I'm guessing 21 years are enough to summon enough miserable moments where you.
We did when we. What was it? It was around about 1994. We went down to South America. It was just after the birth of my daughter, and we went down to South America and did some gigs with Bill Ward. But one of the songs in the set was Mob Rules. Now, okay. Mob Rules is the only song that some play live where Tony needs a vibrato arm. But at the time, we had a brief relationship with an English guitar company called Patrick Eggle, and they produced a guitar. It wasn't an SG shape at the time, but it did have a vibrato bar. And Tony said, let's give the Gibson a rest, let's take this one. And I was like, oh, good. Yeah. So anyway, we're on stage at the first gig. It was a Monsters of Rock thing. I think Kiss were headlining it. So Tony started Mob Rules. Okay. And the first bit went, and when it came back up, it was so far out. It was horrible.
Oh, no.
And he's looking back at me, and I'm saying, let's swap, and he's, well, of course, he can't in the middle of a song because Tony's just playing all the time. And anyway, at the end of the song, he takes it off from around his neck and he holds it underneath the body and he launched it right up into the air. And of course, it's this great big arc, as it comes down and hits the deck, the neck breaks or whatever. And all these other techs are standing at the side of the stage going, oh my God. And I'm just going, oh, he does that every night.
Great.
Needless to say, they because we didn't have the Gibson with us, because the air freight down to South America is so expensive. We had to take as much as possible. But anyways, that was a horror story.
But I love the ending. It's so theatrical. Oh, he does it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So great. Mike, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for taking time.
Pleasure has been mine.
This little chat.
I've really enjoyed it. Good one.
Oh, me too. Me too, absolutely. And thanks for all the precious information. I'm happy to share this with everyone who's watching this video. I hope everyone will have at least one more question maybe we can answer. So let us know, of course, down there in the comment section. We'll come back to you. And there's nothing else to say. Then have a fantastic day. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Pleasure mine.
Mike, great. Thank you. And you guys take it easy. Thanks so much for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it. And let us know which guitar tech you want to see next. See you in another video. Bye-bye.
Cool.
It was a little thing, but natural.
It was supernatural.
All right, so that was pretty cool. No, I liked it. So that was nice to find out something like that from someone like him. You get some nice inside stories, you know. How many people know Tony Iommi was using 38s, right? So, well, it's getting a little late for you guys now, right? Some of you guys, it's a little bedtime, and JMK, you're at work. So, you know what? It's been an hour. Keep an eye out because I may actually edit this reaction and put it up as a separate video if you like to check it out again, or I don't know, so other people to check it out anyway. All right, and keep an eye out for the review for this. And until the next one, take it easy, guys.